Hey everyone, how are you? As we get ready for our next Foyr talk here, we're actually going to bring in Meirav Goldhour with Converse College. And I've known Meirav for just the past year. She's got some really good stuff for us today on comparing a lot of the different design tools that are out there. And she gets to see and play with a ton of these tools just based on the fact that she's doing a lot of teaching. So she's a design professor down at Converse College. So let's see, we're going to bring her on here in a second. Just give us 1 minute. Okay, let's see. Just 1 second, guys. Looks like she's just coming on now.
There.
Hey, perfect. How are you?
Hi.
I didn't want to introduce you without officially having you on.
Okay, that's all right. Great.
So just for our audience, we have Meirav Goldhour from Converse College. She's the professor of interior design. And Meirav will be discussing design softwares compared, Revit, Autocad, Sketchup, and Foyr Neo. So many tools to choose from. I have a feeling Meirav will be clearing this up for us and our audience today with her presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to her so she can enlighten us.
Hey, thanks, Rich. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And are we all able to see this?
Yep, we can see
Yes.
it. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So I'm going to tell you all something that I tell my students when I'm on Zoom. If I ask you a question or if I ask you if something's clear, just make sure to shout out, say yes or something, because my students tend to nod and I can't see everybody at the same time. So just a heads up on that part. But besides that, I think everything should be good. Okay, I'm minimizing everybody. So this new reality is very interesting where, we're not face to face sometimes, and being able to see people's expressions, whether, something is clear or unclear. So it's kind of a learning curve for everybody. Anyway, okay, so I'll just, before we start, I just want to say that the experience that I have with the software, I know that a lot of people have different experiences. So if anybody, feel free to jump in at any time. Again, this is the experience I have with different software that may not be the same experience other people have. I'm more than open to any input. We have a variety of students. Some love Revit, some hate Revit, some love different types of design software, and some don't. So today what I'm presenting is my experience as a designer and as an educator teaching this software. So just to be clear on that. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As you all probably know, my name is not an American name. 1 second, having some issues here, just 1 moment. Let's see, why am I not, oh, there we go. Okay, so everybody can still see this?
Yep, we can see it clear.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, so I was actually born in Israel and raised in Israel, and I served in the military for 3 years. After my military service, I pursued my undergraduate degree in interior architecture in Israel. When I came to the United States to continue my education, I went to Athens, Georgia to do it at the University of Georgia. During that time, my husband was doing his PhD at Clemson University, and we kind of lived in the middle, and each one was commuting to do 2 different directions. I've completed my MFA in interior design at Georgia, and I became a professor. I do not know why I became a professor or even how I became a professor, but that happened. I was very industry oriented. I wanted to be a commercial designer. I was strict on that, but I had a professor that kind of pushed me towards this direction. And eventually, you know, life just takes its course. So that happened, but it's working well so far. Another interesting fact, I'm a mother to 2 boys. I did want girls and I got 2 boys. So that's another, the mysteries of life. But no further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our program at Converse College, our interior design program at Converse College. So we are a small program of 50 to 60 students in the entire program, which is pretty small. We are CETA accredited, and we are part of the art and design department. So we have a variety of different professions that we teach. We teach graphic design, we teach studio arts. The interior design route is very, very specific and very to its own because of the CETA accreditation. We have to fulfill a large variety of requirements. So those of you who have attended a CETA accredited school in interior design or are educators yourself with this accreditation, I'm sure you know how much it involves. Due to our size, we're also very student oriented. We have very close professional relationships with our students. And we have a very nice collaborative environment, which we really enjoy having. We also have what I call bragging rights. My former colleague that retired recently, this was one of her lines that I adopted. And meaning she would always say, if you have something to brag about, just go ahead and brag. So we have bragging rights. We brag about our students, we brag about our program. And we feel like we've earned the bragging rights. So if any of you have bragging rights, go ahead and brag. Okay, so again, one second. I want this. No, there we go. Okay, so design skills that we reinforce. So we believe interior designers need to have basic drawing abilities in addition to design software skills. I know many of you probably know that there's a lot of evidence and research that say that you can't just have software skills, you also need to know how to draw as an artist or as a designer or as an architect. So we really try to reinforce that in our program, and a lot of it is due to that creativity and design process is very much supported by the hand sketching and what we call the rapid undetailed sketching. So we try to reinforce both, not just the design software, but also the sketching that eventually brings to better designs that you can reveal with the design software. So here's a little bit, I'm just showing some examples from students' work. We make sure that all our students do their bubble diagrams and their blocking diagrams completely hand-drawn. They can go as elaborate as possible with them. We even reinforce that, but we try we've asked them not to go directly to the computer to do these because we want their design process and their thinking and their the process of what they're designing to be in the more to promote that creativity, so to speak. So that's a little bit what you see here. Okay, software that we teach. So you've all heard of these software probably. We teach Revit, we teach Sketchup, we obviously teach Autocad, and we teach all the Adobe Creative Suite software. Photoshop is one of the main things that we reinforce, and if we're able to fit it in the curriculum, we also do InDesign and Illustrator. Other design software that we have a little bit of experience with and that supports and also used in some industries, 3ds Max is one of those that are used. The advanced Adobe software, which would be Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere. I have some good experience with Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere, and I have tested it for the first time during the spring with my senior students. due to the pandemic when we had to go all digital and we didn't have an audience to print out our fancy boards and present our presentation boards. So we went all digital. We had to be very creative with that approach. So we've started using these softwares a little bit. V-Ray, I've used as a plugin for Sketchup during my days as a designer. V-Ray is also highly used for 3ds Max, and I think there's other design software that works with it as well. But that's not something that we use right now at Converse. Okay, so if we look at these different design software, and again, anybody that feels differently about this, you're welcome to speak. It doesn't offend me in any way. It doesn't offend anyone. Everybody has different experiences with different things in life. So AutoCAD, we highly reinforce in our program. We call it the ballet to every dance. So meaning that it is the basic software to every software, right? Kind of like ballet is the basics to all dance professions. So it also has a good ability to modify line weight. So we highly use it for our working drawings, our construction documents, and to show real good details at the same time, because we're able to tweak that in a very easy 2D format. The ability to import and export is really highly used and is really a real easy ability to do in AutoCAD. And the free student licensing by Autodesk. We don't necessarily like Autodesk, but they do provide us a free licensing. So that is another reason that we do use it a lot. Now in disadvantages, I did put NA just because we don't really use it for anything besides 2D in our program. We don't reinforce too much the 3D application of AutoCAD, but we do use it a lot for 2D. All right, Revit. Revit is its own story. I have a hate and love relationship with Revit, so here it is. It shows good details, right? When we're looking at the planes, the first floor, the second floor, the sections, the elevations, very easy to produce elevations and sections right out of Revit. All you need to do is put a line through and you have it, right? It produces nice clean lines, which we really like. Ability to produce detailed drawings, working drawings and 3D models. Easy switching between 2D and 3D views, which is very easy in the software. Also provides a free student licensing, which is very helpful for a lot of our programs. All right, so let's look at the disadvantages. Huge disadvantage is the realistic renderings. It takes hours. I remember as a designer, as a student, even when I'm teaching this, it takes forever to render a nice, realistic, very high quality rendering. I would render, and this was before they kind of I think they perfected it a little more. It's become better and better over the years, but I can tell you back in 2009, when I was a practicing designer, right out of grad school, right out of my undergraduate studies, I would render something for a client, and I would just sit there waiting for this thing to render and just sitting there for hours and hours and hours and hours. Sometimes if I was rendering into the night, I would put an alarm clock for 3 hours and come back and re-render another scene and put my alarm clock for another 3 hours. So kind of like having a newborn baby that's waking up every 3 hours. Besides that, the software, if you're not strictly using it for rendering, you might be able to utilize it for other things. But yes, the rendering time is, I would not recommend it today to my students for rendering. I would use other design software for rendering rather than Revit. The application of materials also requires some editing. And again, the materials are pretty good in Revit, but sometimes if you want to fix some sort of pattern exactly custom made the way you want it, it's very hard to get to those results. Sometimes the seams won't be lined up. You have to really work at it to get it. Where in SketchUp, for instance, you can apply that with the stretching tool a little better. Importing external furniture blocks. It's in our case, and this could be just with the student version, but they come in sometimes uneditable. If for instance, we're using furniture from Steelcase, in many cases, we import it, and then all of a sudden the materials on the furniture are not editable. And then there's a certain way where you go into the management tabs and you try to edit it through there. If you're lucky, it will work. Sometimes it doesn't work. It can become very time consuming. Importing other files that are not Revit into SketchUp files, such as 3D files or SketchUp files. I'll tell you a little story about this that happened a few weeks ago, actually. We are working right now with my senior students on a Steelcase competition. A lot of the Revit files on the website are not there. There's hardly any Revit furniture to use. So regardless of the fact that I contacted them and told them about the situation, there's a lot of SketchUp models where there's not a lack of SketchUp models in there. So I was thinking, okay, there must be a way to convert a SketchUp model into Revit, right? It requires 3 steps: bringing it into SketchUp and editing it in SketchUp first, creating layers, bringing it into Autocad and putting it on a specific layer, rebringing that into Revit. And then what? Materials are not editable. So there is a tab that you go into and you start applying the layers in there, applying the materials in there, and only then that furniture is ready. So imagine how many steps you had to get just to get to the fact that you can render that material out eventually. It took me 3 different tutorials to combine together to be able to get to that. Eventually I showed that to my students. They were happy, but it takes a few steps. So that's maybe another disadvantage. Requires a lot of future planning. So sometimes, you know, if we're using a different type of software, we're testing things out as we're doing them. We kind of have what we call our testing model. So if we're kind of sculpting, let's say in SketchUp, we're sculpting in another design software and testing things out, we don't always have to have everything figured out while we're doing it. In Revit, things are very horizontal and vertical planes. So everything kind of has to be very planned out in advance. And I would say that that would be another disadvantage to this product. And then hard to modify furniture models. If you bring in a furniture models and you want to use the push-pull tool that you have in SketchUp, you can't do that. You have to go into the properties and start calculating all the different dimensions. So again, that's our experience with it. If anybody has different experience, I will look soon into the chat that everybody's writing into there. Okay, SketchUp. I love SketchUp's ability to sculpt things. Being able to rotate in that 3D space, pushing and pulling all kinds of different objects, being able to put in sections and look inside, and just having that real smooth ability to rotate in the space. I love that about SketchUp. My students do too. Easy way to modify models. I haven't come across a model that has given me any problems when I'm uploading furniture. The selection is amazing, and it creates really nice presentational drawings. Now here's a few disadvantages to this. It does require external rendering plugin engines, right? It doesn't have a realistic component into it, so we use Podium for this. I used to use V-Ray. We moved to Podium. Another disadvantage would be that if you're trying to create a real professional working drawing, you can't really use SketchUp for that. So you can make it where it will look very, very clean by modifying the background, giving different textures and that kind of stuff. But again, it's not, from my experience, not really meant for, nice working drawings when you're trying to produce something a little more technical. Now, here's the big major problem with SketchUp. It does not provide a free student license, and it is expensive, actually. It is very, very expensive. And in my next slide, I'm actually going to show you how expensive it is. For students, not for maybe practicing designers, but for students, it's pretty expensive. All right, Neo. We have a little, not much. We haven't played with Neo that much yet. We've just adopted it into our curriculum, and so far the students are loving it. It has amazing realistic rendering capabilities, as all of you know. The fact that it's cloud-based and doesn't require, these massive gaming computers that are very, very expensive, that's just wonderful. It's wonderful that a student can log in from any computer and continue working on their model. It's wonderful that we don't have to continue to recommend that they buy a $3,000 computer just to be in our program. So that's a wonderful ability to have. The ability to maneuver in 3D space is very comfortable. Great materials and furniture gallery, absolutely phenomenal. So we're very, very happy with that software. So some current disadvantages that hopefully will be changed in the future. And, I've seen this software about a year ago, and then I've seen it when we decided to adopt it into our curriculum after testing it a little bit. I've evaluated it, and it's amazing how much progress has been done to the software in 1 year. All of a sudden, all these new features within just a year. It's really phenomenal. So I do anticipate that this will be the next thing. Specifically for Converse students, this is one disadvantage, that we're not able to specify the furniture manufacturer into our schedules. When we're working with students on the type of furniture that they're selecting for their designs, we ask them to specify what is the manufacturer. And the fact is, there's not, the library does not provide that information. And we've talked with the professionals. We understand why, but it is a disadvantage for us. So hopefully that's maybe something that will change in the future. And the fact that it does not produce technical drawings. So we use it strictly right now for rendering realistic views. Another disadvantage that is not a huge disadvantage, but not being able to import SketchUp or Revit into Neo is a slight disadvantage, but here's what I've been telling my students as well. Recreating or staging a specific view in Neo, building that specific view in Neo, right? That maybe will be maybe the four walls in a room with a specific, in a specific area, will take them less time to perfect than trying to do that in Revit, right? When it's already built. So so that's where I'm cautious about saying that may be a disadvantage, but just not being able to take whatever they've already created and throwing that right into Neo, that's just that situation. But again, I'm sure there's a bright future ahead of us. So, okay, so this is what I was talking about in SketchUp. We use this subscription, okay? Now, faculty get it for free. We have it all installed on our computers through the university, but this is what a student needs to get for their monthly subscription for SketchUp with Podium, okay? So that would be without Podium, and this would be with Podium, and this is just a screenshot from the website that I looked at about a week ago, so it is accurate. $135 for a license is a lot for our students to be able to handle. They know going into our program, they know that they're going to have to purchase that, but it is a lot. So just to give you an idea. Okay, so how did Neo actually come into the picture? So interesting enough, I actually found Neo on Facebook, which is very random. I was doing this while I was in my pajamas in my bed during the night, just trying to clear my mind, and it popped up and I was like, oh wow, this looks interesting. What is this, right? So I contacted somebody through the chat system, and soon enough they've connected me with Rich, and that's how I got in touch with Neo. The reason we've decided to do this transition to Neo and adopt it into our curriculum was mainly during the pandemic. And one reason for that is we moved to online instruction in April. We're back to face-to-face now, but the entire spring semester of last year was done online. It required a lot of new creative ideas for us on how these students are going to feature their projects in a good way, in a professional way. And I don't know if any of you experienced this, but providing instruction while sharing your screen on Zoom and with a class of 15 students is very, very hard. It's very hard to try to explain to them how to do things when you can't just come over to them and take their mouse and show them exactly the steps, trying to tell them, go a little bit left, that icon up there, go a little bit to the right. It's frustrating for them, it's frustrating for us. So we needed something that was not complicated. We needed something that they could learn on their own, and mostly something that that another source could provide that support. And Neo was able to provide that support to them through the chat system, through the tutorials. It kind of put the burden less on the faculty. When we moved to online instruction, we had a lot of load was put on faculty, especially faculty that have young kids, because these young kids were out of school, out of daycare, and we were trying to tackle maintaining the integrity of our classes while we have our own children and trying to teach, right? So having that resources was very important to us and was extremely helpful. Let's see what else. And then we had our senior capstone projects that were all canceled. Those are the seniors that would show their senior exhibition. So we needed some sort of virtual method to display their work. We gave the option to the students if they wanted to use Neo, and 3 out of 8 did decide to use Neo, and they've done wonderful work with it. Anyway, as a result, yes.
We have a minute and a half countdown. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna do this real quick. So, okay. So anyway, as a result, so I think, okay. So I'll go directly to my to summarize this whole thing. I think that the idea of using design software in the big picture is not necessarily using one software. I think the combination of a few software together is the winner. I think that, being tied to one software is not going to give you the best results. So I think learning how to use each software with what the best capabilities it can give you is what's most important. Anyway, I thought this would be kind of cute. This is some feedback I've gotten from the students. And when I asked them, so how are you liking Neo? How do you feel that it is in comparison to the other software? They've said it's like SketchUp and Revit had a baby. So I thought that was great. And I asked the student, can I use your line for this? And she said, yes, of course. So that's my summary. And if you're wondering what that coffee mug is, I've purchased one grande latte from Starbucks the other day, and I had all the students sign the cup. What we're going to do for our licensing, we're all giving up one coffee once a month for our monthly subscription to Neo. So you see all the students sign the cup, and they're all giving it up once a month to be able to allow themselves to have this software. So I thought that'd be kind of fun.
That's awesome. We thank you so much. We'll do some follow-ups with just a couple of the questions that we can get out to everyone, and we'll follow up with you.
Great. And I'm
as well.
sorry I wasn't able to look at the chat while I was presenting. I haven't gotten to that ability yet. That's my next step. But if you wanted to forward me those questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll have a larger, a deeper discussion down the road on all the tools and things, because there was a lot of really good banter going back and forth. So thank you for that. It got a lot of people thinking, and we're getting towards the end of the day. So that's brilliant.
Great. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next Foyr Talk in 1 minute. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.